Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Hey, Colleen. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Renda. Hey, Amani.
It's good to see everyone blew into work today.
Good morning. If you are just joining us, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box and the company you're with. That way we know who's here and who's not. Good morning, Casey. We will get started in just a few minutes. We've got a few more people trying to come into the room right now. Hi, Heather. We haven't met yet, but I'm excited to work with you. Hi, Samantha.
Looks like we have a few more people connecting.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. We will get started in just a few minutes. We have a few people still connecting in. If you would go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what company you're with. That way we know who's in the room today, and we will get started in just a few minutes. As a reminder, the session is being recorded and we will send out that recording after today's webinar.
For those of you joining us tomorrow night for the annual dinner, it is looking great out there. It's going to be a fun night.
Excited. All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. We want to make the most of our time today. If you haven't already, introduce yourself in the chat box. That way we can see who's here and who we need to send this to afterwards. If you have any questions throughout the session today, please feel free to drop them in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. But other than that, we will go ahead and get started. Melissa, I'll let you kick this off.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa Vance. I am the president and CEO here at the Chamber. And I'm very appreciative for those of you that serve regularly on our Business and Education Committee for all the work that you've put into pulling this together. We want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors for this program, and that is Ivy Tech Community College and Phillips Tube Group and Earlham College. So we'll be hosting at Earlham. So they have donated the space for us and we'll be supporting that. And we always want to say thank you to those that step up and help these things be possible. So as I said, I'm Melissa. Roxy Deer is our Director of Education and Membership. And by virtue of that, she is the staff lead for this program and all of our education programs. So outside of this webinar today, if there are questions that you have, she will be your main contact, and she will be your main contact that day as well. Although we'll all be there assisting. She'll be the point person. So the hiring fair really developed from our previous career fairs. We've been doing those for several years and bringing out for a long time, bringing out just the high school seniors and rotating them through the breakout sessions and the job fair floor, and trying to get them the skills that they need and the connections that they need, so that when they are finished with their education, whether that's K-12 or higher ed, they have those connections and know what job opportunities exist here in Wayne County. Then last year, we were not able to do the career fair due to COVID. And because of that, it really spurred some additional conversation. And I think, I'm hearing this not just with the chamber, but with a lot of different organizations. The changes that we all have made during COVID has helped us become better in some ways that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise. And this is one of those programs that I really feel like was strong coming out of that. The committee decided they wanted to focus on the students that didn't have a plan after college. So since we couldn't do the big career fair, what were the ones that were going to fall through the cracks if we don't get them connected before graduation? And that landed us with the hiring fair. So rather than career exploration, this was how do we get some applications and get those students into jobs. And last year we were successful in getting some students placed into jobs. However, with that being our first year, doing a lot of interviews and scheduling things, and some things worked well and some things didn't work well. And we always try to adjust. And I'm not going to use the word pivot. We're done with that word, but we are trying to adjust and learn from last year's ups and downs. So with that, what we decided was, rather than scheduling the students for certain time slots for interviewing, like we had done previously, if you were there last year, we're going to have students do speed interviewing. So we're going to have you very much like speed dating, if you've ever seen that on TV or participated yourself somewhere. I always think of movies when they're doing speed dating, and I think it's hilarious, but we're going to do that, and hopefully it won't be hilarious. Hopefully these students will actually make good connections, and you'll find some people to fill your positions that are open. We're really focusing on those students that need a job. So all that said, we know that you need people regardless. And so we're doing our best to try and get the most students there that are work ready as possible. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Roxy, and she's going to hit the rest of the details.
Yeah, great. So this is going to be held at a new location, and that is at Earlham College's Wellness Center. We'll be working to get a layout to you soon about this event. Our goal is to have you arrive and be set up by 8:15 a.m. that morning on April 21st. We believe the first group will roll in about 8:30 that morning, and we will hopefully have you out by 2. But if that doesn't happen, if we go a little bit longer, we'll let you know. But we will provide you lunch that day for participating in that. Just want to make sure that information, this is a new location. I know we've changed locations up a couple of times on our career event. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew where we were going to be. This timeline is a little bit different than it has been in the past. So I wanted to make you aware
Roxy,
of that. Yeah.
I apologize for interrupting, but while we're on the venue, is there a specific place that you want to direct people to park that day?
We will have specific parking. We're going to work with Earlham to figure out where that is. We want to make sure that it's efficient and you're able to get in and out and not have to lug things through an entire campus. So once we identify that parking lot, we will let you know. So as far as the timeline, business registration ends tomorrow. So if your business hasn't registered yet, or if you're on the fence, you have until tomorrow. There is a hard cutoff on April 1st at 5 p.m. Students will then get an application, and we'll talk about that application here in a minute. They have until April 15th to complete that application, and that enters them into the hiring fair process. Once we get those applications, we will set up the interview schedules. It won't be like a schedule that you got last year. If you participated last year, it will be Centerville students will be interviewing in this hour, and you will have a plethora of students run through your interview process that day. But you will have all of the applications for every student in the room that day. Obviously, the hiring fair is on April 21st, but we have two things happening immediately after that. Most of you requested some way to do follow-up interviews with the students, and we would like to help you do that. Obviously, a speed interview, you have about 10 minutes. That's not a lot of time to chat with the students, but we would like to connect you with the schools so that in the 2 weeks following the event, you can go to the schools and actually they will pull the students from the class and let you do follow-up interviews those 2 weeks. We'll help connect you with the schools and make sure that you're aware. You may not have anybody at Northeastern that you want to interview. All of your students may be at Richmond. So we'll work with you to make sure that those get scheduled and put together. Then we will follow up the week of May 9th through the 13th, and we want to do a brand new thing. It's a signing ceremony for our students. So any student who gets hired at any of our employers through this process, we would like to do almost like what they do with athletes, where they sign like a commitment sheet. And this is just to bring publicity to the students who are working and staying in the community. It puts an emphasis that there is success in career and not going straight off to college. And just really helping our schools and our students kind of celebrate this and celebrate the businesses for doing something new and celebrating. So we'll have media coverage there on those days. And those won't last long. We'll probably, if you have 5 or 6 students at a school, we'll get them in an hour. So that won't take much time at all for you, but we'll schedule those out as well. So I do want to review what the students will be doing that day. This gives you a little bit better of an idea of what your responsibilities will be as well. When students roll in, when they first get there, they will be greeted by some community leaders. Last year we had Chad Bolser, Sherry Lynn Johnson, Carl Reinhardt. We have different speakers this year, but they will hear about why does this day matter? What does your behavior look like? What are some quick and easy interview tips and tricks that you need to know before you head out there onto the interview floor? That'll last about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will have students do a practice interview. So they will sit down at their first table. This will be a 15-minute practice interview where you will just get to ask them some of the basic questions, give them some feedback, a 10-minute interview with 5 minutes of constructive feedback. That's just to kind of alleviate some of their nerves and some of their anxious energy that they'll be bringing in. We will immediately follow that up with the speed interviewing process. We're imagining that will look like a full hour for each student of speed interviewing. So that will be 6 interviews for each student that day. You may not get to interview every student, but you will have a chance. If you have multiple employees there that day, you'll have a greater chance of interviewing more students. And then finally, students will wrap up the end of the day with the session with the community leaders, telling them like, hey, you may get a follow-up email or phone call or text message today, tomorrow, the next day. Take that seriously. So we're really reiterating that there's some responsibility on their end. I know in the past we've had some trouble with that. So reiterating that they need to do some follow-up on their end as well. Yes, Cindy, great question. She said, will we be given access to the applications before the event? You will have every application for every student in the room. prior to the event. I'm hoping those will go out to you by April 18th. So on that student application, this is the information we're collecting from students, very basic information. And we wanted to open this up to our employers today to see if there's anything else you would like on the application. Since we're collecting this for every student, we wanted to give you a couple of questions where you could just chat with them about what their interests and hobbies are, figuring out what industries they're interested in. And if they don't know, that's an option. So those students will be in, they'll be able to kind of pick and choose. And then we've also, you'll notice we've included their cell phone number and if they can receive text messages. And we've included a non-school related email address. I think Rinda was the one who discovered this last year, that we were asking students for their emails. They were giving us their school emails, and then outside emails weren't coming through the server for the schools. So we're asking for non-related email addresses this year. Emails may not be the best way to reach these students though. So I do want to preface you with that. They probably will not check their emails. They will most likely use their cell phone. Will all students be 18 or over? If not, could we get their date of birth on their applications? That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. I imagine most will be close to 18, if not already 18. There may be a few exceptions in there. So we will add date of birth to the application. I'm going to make a note of that. Any other questions? Okay, yeah, absolutely. Richard wants to know what their favorite classes are, why they're interested in those industries, those classes, and their hobbies. That's a great addition. Any other feedback on the application? This is what you will have that will be kind of your preface to the student. Okay.
I think one thing that we would like to know from you, if you can let Roxy know, is are you only hiring full-time positions? If was this on the application that they filled out already, Roxy, full-time, or do you have any part-time positions available for those that may be wanting to do a college class or two, so that they can do both work and school? So if you can let us know that, I think that would be helpful. And then also, are your positions permanent or are they temporary? I think that would be helpful for the students as well.
Absolutely. So this application will be the one that's completed by students. There will be some follow-up emails that I have with each employer that will gain some more information. Like who are you bringing with you that day, like specific names. I know some of you registered, you just would have 5 people there that day. But also what positions are you hiring for? Are they part-time? All those things Melissa mentioned. Colleen asked, will some of these students have had some vocational training? It's a potential. We don't know until we get the applications in from the school. There may be some who, most of the vocational programs are so in demand that students are being picked from those programs right at graduation. But we will highlight those students if they do. We'll find a way to connect with them. I'll ask that question.
Roxy.
Yeah.
How about adding career goals? So
Okay.
Instead of chatting this, I'm going to explain it. So what I mean by that is we offer tuition reimbursement or certification reimbursement. So if we know that someone is interested in becoming a medical assistant, maybe we don't have a position for medical assistant right now, but we do have an office assistant. So if we know that that's their ultimate goal, then we could hire them at the entry level, or even a nurse, or, there's lots of places where kids could could further their career. So maybe a career goal would be interesting to know too.
Absolutely. That's a great, I love that question. I'll add that. And Colleen will add the question about vocational training as well. Richard asked, will we select the students to interview or will they pick us? So that's a great question. The students will identify their interested industries on their application. They have to rank them. And from there, we will have the interview. If they say they're healthcare and they have no interest in manufacturing, we will have them do healthcare speed interviews first. That will be their first priority. Now, we may not have enough interviews or enough employers to do 6 an hour full of speed interviews with healthcare, but so they'll start with healthcare and then they'll wrap up with maybe some other similar interests or something similar in that. So they're not necessarily picking specific companies, they're picking their industries that they're interested in. And that can, sometimes you're going to get a student who, we had this happen last year, I think it might have happened with Lisa. A student sat down in front of her, had no interest in working at Primex. And then once they started talking, realized that it's not just manufacturing at Primex, right? They have all these other positions that are available, and they were able to have a great conversation about that. And the student actually went on to interview with manufacturing because they realized the career pathway, that career goal that Cindy was talking about, that they were able to find out. So you will have students who are interested in career fields that similar to your industry. I will say that.
And to reiterate, you will have all of the applications of all of the students afterward. So if there's someone that you were interested in that you did not get to interview, you'll have their contact information to follow up afterward anyway.
Absolutely. Great feedback on the student application. That helps us a lot. If you have more feedback that you would like to see on this, or if you have other questions, please let us know. I do want to point out some tips and tricks that make this successful. So you'll notice this year we will not have the traditional career fair floor like we did last year. We want to save that for the career exploration fair that happened in February and make this hiring fair really just all about interviewing. And so you won't have a time to like hand out freebie stuff to your students in a traditional way. But we do encourage you to have things with your interviewee or at your interview table that you can hand to students that represent your company. That's a great way to engage them, a great way to reward them for doing an interview. They're going to be nervous. Many of them, this will probably be their first interview, and they're going to do 6 interviews back to back. So just try to keep them engaged, keep them happy. If you can reduce the laptops and technology between you and the student, that would be fantastic. So really giving them kind of your undivided attention. I know that's not always easy. You've got to take notes and make comments and things like that. But that really helps the student engage as well. Keep this really positive and light. Last year we had a few students who were so nervous, they ended up not finishing the interview process. They needed to take a step back. And so we really want to keep this light and fun and engaging for you, and a great way for you to find employees, but also keep the students excited about working. And then last year, we had those students who didn't complete the interview process, or they got lost, or they got confused about where they were going. Please stay at your table, because like we said earlier, a student may finish an interview and they may have an extra 10 minutes. We will plop them into open positions or open interview tables if we see those. And we don't want you to lose that opportunity because you've walked away to answer a phone call or anything like that. We will have breaks in the day for you to get up, check your emails, go to the bathroom. We'll have snacks and water for you. But please try to stay at the table as much as you possibly can, because you never know when a student may walk up and just want to chat, and that's your student that you want to hire. And then the last thing is, please follow up with these students quickly. This is from the schools side of it. The schools are really going to help these students through this process. But the second those students graduate, they're gone. They don't have the teachers and the principals following up with them every single day. So try to use those 2 weeks immediately following the event to do those follow-up interviews. If you wait till after graduation, they don't have the teachers saying, hey, did you talk to Primex? Hey, did you talk to Dot? They get those interviews and get them scheduled while they still have that person checking in on them every day. Melissa, or any of our other participants, anything else you would like to add to this list of, we have a lot of new people this year. Anything you'd like to add to this list of tips and tricks?
Hey, Roxy, I just wanted to clarify how this was going to look. So last year we had kind of a job fair floor and then we had interviewing space. So what is the setup going to look like? Are we going to have the job fair floor too,
No.
or is it combined?
So there will be no job fair floor. This will be simply tables, and you can do as much or as little with your table there as you want. I will say, if like Dot, if you're sending multiple people to interview, you're gonna have to have multiple table I'm gonna call them tablescapes, because you have the tablecloth and all of that. If you choose to just do the plain table, that's totally fine as well. But there will be no traditional job fair floor. We're scrapping that part this year just for time and because we did the career fair with these students. So Melissa, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think just, last year they didn't have the career fair to have that opportunity to engage with the employers ahead of time and get to know what they do. So this year they did, and we wanted to utilize the time that we have them for those interviews and get as many interviews in as possible. So we decided just to do this speed interviewing and not having them going from room to room. We're going to try and get the tables spread out a little bit, but still lined up. So it's easy just to move down the row and we don't lose anyone. I will add that, these students, if you think about the students that are coming with no post-graduation plan, that often means that they don't have a strong mentor in their lives or strong parent input helping them navigate that process. Otherwise, they would probably have a plan by now. So offer a little grace in this process and know that they're probably really nervous and they're probably not going to be as experienced in communication as we might like them to be. But all that said, if you are warm, they will more likely open up to you and you'll more likely have a strong interview. And I know you all interview often, but I just wanted to remind you of that. These students, many of them, they've never spoken to an employer or anyone at this level before in their lives. And they are nervous. They're really nervous.
I didn't understand that.
Siri
And
didn't
my
understand
watch
that. Our
didn't
employers
understand what
did.
I just said.
There
Yeah,
are
I
some
think,
great questions. Oh, go ahead, Brenda.
I think that's a good point, Melissa. I think last year, if you went to the career fair versus the hiring fair, there was quite a bit of a difference. And if you went to this year's career fair, we had a lot of engaging kids. And I think it is important to know that this is kind of a different group of kids. So,
Absolutely. Great question. Cindy asked, will you provide tables or do we bring our own? How many can we have set up at the event? We will provide you tables. The table setup will be, we have to see the Earlham setup first, but you will have a table with one person from your company and one student. And then the next table will be another company and another student. So if you bring 5, I know Colleen, I think you're bringing 3 or 4 people. Renda, many of you are bringing multiple people. You will be in different rows. And so there will be like row 1 will be 6 tables, and the students will move down that row. And then in row 2, there will be a different set of employers. So the more people you have there, the more students your company will interview. I hope that makes sense.
follow that up to say, if you only have 2 open positions, please don't send 5 people.
Right.
Just
a good point.
because we want to make sure these students have the best opportunity to get a job. So we want to, try and temper that as well. But if you have 25 open positions, or some of you I know have many more than that, that makes total sense to bring multiple people and get multiple interviews in.
Absolutely.
Joy asked, how are you getting the word out to invite attendees?
Great question. So we work closely, our business education committee that is putting this event on works with all of our local educators. So we have all of our public schools represented from the county. So Richmond, Centerville, Northeastern, Hagerstown, Western Wayne. We also have invited Seton Catholic, and we've invited National Trail to this event. And they will all determine what students they were working with their counselors and their career guidance, career specialist, to make sure that the students who need to be at this event are there. Some are identifying students who are attending local colleges and are still going to be looking for part-time work, or they may be going to IU East or Ivy Tech or Purdue, Earlham, and they're looking for work while they're going to school. So their teachers are also identifying more students than what we had originally thought, which I think is exciting.
And Roxy, Tammy asked, are students being given interview resources and tips from the school or from the chamber to help assist them?
So a little bit of both. We have all of the students will have attended JA in a day with junior achievement by the time this event happens. And then most of the counselors are working with their group of students. I know last year Hagerstown did mock interviews with Robin. I know Robin's on the call today. She went and did mock interviews with one of the schools. Most of them are working with this specific group of students to prepare them. That being said, we're not the ones hands-on teaching that. So it's kind of up to each school and what they do and how they do it. We have offered resources though.
And Lisa asked, will there be space for banners? Refer to the picture on the slide if we'll want to further promote our business at our tables.
Absolutely. Like I said, you will have, and we'll let you know if it's a 6 foot or an 8 foot table. You will be able, if you want to put a tablecloth on that, that's great. If you want to put banners up, if you want, whatever you want to do at the table where you're interviewing the students, you're more than welcome to do that. Any other questions? Or Richard, it looks like you raised your hand. Do you have a question for us?
So you're going to bring a busload of students from a school, maybe 30 students.
Mhm.
And they're going to be introduced. They're going to go through that welcoming process, do some speed interviews, practice, and then they're going to make rounds for an hour.
No, so they will do the welcome. They will have the practice interview, which will last about 15 minutes. And then they will do an hour of speed interviewing.
And then they leave and another bus shows up.
Yes. Yes. Great question. This does look very different than the event we've done in the past. So we want to make sure everyone's questions are answered, and any doubts or thoughts you may have are shared now so that we are all on the same page as we go into this event.
Like I said, this is a learning process for us as well. And every event we have, we try to tweak it and make it better the next year. So if we try this and it doesn't seem to be the best format, we will tweak it again next year. So we rely on your feedback afterward. We'll probably send out a survey to you and ask you to provide some feedback. And then I want to say also, we really are going to rely on you to tell us if you were able to hire people from this process. So if you are able to hire from this process, we'd like to hear some of those success stories and minimally have the number of people that you hired so that we can have some stats to share afterward.
Absolutely.
I would like to make a comment. I'm just, thank you and Roxy for putting this together. We have never participated in something like this, but I am very excited. It sounds like a great opportunity, and I think you guys have done a great job.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you, Richard. We appreciate you participating.
Are there any other questions or thoughts about this event? You will start receiving, thank you, Kate, that's so sweet. You will start receiving updates from me, including just getting some basic more information from your businesses. We've got you registered. Now we want to get down to the nitty-gritty details. So we will be in contact. It will not be this week. As many of you know, we have annual dinner tomorrow. So we are in the thick of that. Melissa and I are going to log off this webinar and go decorate. But we will follow up next week with details and more information for you. So please stay tuned and share that. If you have multiple employees, please share that information with all the employees participating. When we send an email to our event registration, it goes to the main contact of the person who registered everyone else. So if you registered multiple people, make sure they're getting those emails. If you have any other questions or anything that you need from us, please do not hesitate to reach out. This is a big event for us and our students and our businesses. So we want to make sure that this is a smooth running event and exciting for you and really is beneficial for your business. We know hiring right now is the biggest need, and we hope that this is one solution to many that you have. Melissa, anything else you'd like to say?
The only thing I would say is we will very much emphasize that showing up and showing up on time are important for these students that do get hired. Any chance you have to reiterate that, I highly suggest that you do so. But they will be hearing that from us ahead of time. So, the more they hear that, probably the better, just so that it sticks and they know that that's actually what works in the real world. So we try to input those soft skills as much as we possibly can. But we appreciate you participating. I know that hopefully it's a win-win. Hopefully you find people to hire that are capable and good employees. And hopefully our students learn from this process. So thank you so much for your time today and for your time for this hiring fair.
Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a great day.
Thank you.